And so there is a lot of interesting stuff happening, and I'm going to kind of go through some of that today, right? Because I think that there is a great economic awareness, financial consciousness exercise we can do that relates to where stock prices come from. A lot of people don't know that. And I want to say, first of all, hello to everybody. I see Ann and Levon and everyone else. It's so good to see all of you as always, as always. And so anyway, have you been following the market? I don't know how many of you have been really kind of digging into this, but it's been kind of cool today. Today's a good day, as our friend Ice Cube likes to say. So give me a second here. I'm going to just get us going and get us set up. Okay, so all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a little bit about what's been happening so you'll know why things happened the way they did today. And the stock market hit a new record today, basically, and we're going to kind of talk about some of that, and also just sort of. I hope I can. I looked at some of your survey results yesterday, and it appears that you guys really love money in the morning, which makes me very, very happy. That result was really, really positive, and that's something that we strive for in the Black Business School. Our goal is to take whatever experience you had in college and multiply it by 100. But then, of course, you know that this class is free. So college was not free. For some of you are still paying loans from your universities. Our goal, our belief is that we can educate our own people at a better level, at a higher level, on things that are actually more relevant to our well-being, without charging very much money, right? So with everything being reasonably and fairly priced, you need money. You have to raise money to do things, but at the same time, you don't need $100,000 a year or 30,000 or 50,000 a year and all these other things, right? So let me let you guys know what's happening with the market right now. And first of all, can you all hear me? Give me a quick yes if you can hear me. Okay. I'm going to talk with this microphone to the side, and I just want to make sure my audio is good. Okay, thank you, Veronica, and Natasha, and Henry. I appreciate you, Kamisha, Darnell, Donna. I see a lot of you in here, and it's so good to see all of you. All right, so let me tell you all what's been going on, and then I'm going to kind of talk you through the psychology behind stock prices and stock markets, and really, I hope that by the time we're done, I can convince you of the importance of being a regular investor in the stock market. I know some of you are not there yet. In fact, give me a yes if you are still hesitant, or if you've been thinking about the stock market, but you're not really sure, you're not there yet. You sort of thought about dabbling and maybe done a little bit, but you haven't done as much as you want to, or you have plans to expand or increase your investing in the markets. Give me a yes if you're kind of in that category. And I'm going to tell you, I took the survey from you guys yesterday, and I don't have it in front of me, but I remember feeling, I love this. First of all, like I said, I love the results, and I appreciate all the great feedback, and I read it all very carefully. But I'll tell you the part that kind of got me, where I said, "Oh gosh, I really kind of want to push a little harder on this because I felt some kind of way about it." Is that not as many of you are regularly investing in the stock market as I would like to see, and I'm hoping that tells me that I did not do a good enough job yet of helping you understand how absolutely critically essential stock market investing is. I'm going to give you some stats on stock market investing that will literally blow your mind, that will help you understand beyond any reasonable doubt that you absolutely must invest in the stock market. You absolutely must. And then I'm going to give you a way to get started quickly. I've got some ideas, and I'll even tell you something that I think is worthy of an investment. All right, so let me tell you what's going on in the market. So basically, the Dow jumped 300 points today was because the inflation data was not as bad as they expected. It says here the stocks jumped Wednesday after inflation slowed in May, sending yields tumbling before the Federal Reserve's June interest rate decision. The consumer price index was unchanged for the month of May, lower than the Dow Jones estimate for a 0.1% monthly increase. Year over year, the inflation yardstick increased 3.3%, which also came in below expectations and represented a slowing from the prior 3.4% pace. Monthly and yearly numbers for core CPI, which excludes the volatile prices associated with energy and food, were also lower than anticipated. Okay, so what does this mean? Let me break it down to you in plain English. The Fed expected the Fed, who are kind of the economic gods. These are the ones who, who pretty much pull levers on the economy to try to keep the economy strong. They expected this much inflation, and instead of getting this much, they got this much. They expected 3.4%. Instead of 3.4%, they got 3.3%. Hallelujah. Can you feel a brand new day? This is a big deal. And that's why the market's literally having a party. Right now, if you are paying any attention to the stock market, or if you do after we're done, which I encourage you to take a look at, you'll see that it's basically raining money in the stock market right now. Those of you who are consistently invested, literally are probably seeing thousands of dollars popping into your account. You're seeing lots of green. If you go into Robinhood right now, I'm looking at my Robinhood account. It's everything is super green. It's like a big green light. Like literally every single asset in my options portfolio has gone up. And I know exactly what the mechanics of that are. It has to do with the 10-year treasury yield. If you're in the prime program, you'll know that a lot of the assets that we talk about in prime are connected to the 10-year treasury yield. So when I saw the 10-year treasury yield went down, I knew that a lot of these assets were going to just go berserk. So congratulations if you're making money. Now, let me give you further explanation in terms of what's happening here and what to expect. And then also I'll give you a stock that I like right now. And in addition to that, I'm going to give you some information that will change your life in terms of helping you understand how critically essential it is for every single one of us to invest on some regular basis in the stock market. Let me go into this. So it says here, today's soft CPI puts the Fed back into the driver's seat to steer toward the precautionary cut later this year to ensure recession remains remote. So that basically is a way of saying that we expect that the Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates this year to avoid a recession. And when they cut interest rates, we're going to make even more money than we've made already. That's pretty much what he's saying. It says here, stocks have been under some pressure lately on concerns that higher rates were suffocating the economy, turned higher following the light CPI report and subsequent sliding yields, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let me put that to the side now. Okay, so let me start here. All right, so a lot of investing in the stock market comes down to understanding where stock prices come from. A lot of people say, well, where does the price come from? If someone tells me the stock is $250, what does that mean? Well, everything's based on expectations. And expectations are pretty much when you take all the information that's available and you put it into a mathematical equation. Believe me, I've seen them all. And then a stock price pops out. Now, that price that pops out may not be the same as the price that's on the market, but typically they are connected to each other. Now, here's the thing about expectations. It's like, anybody remember when Steve Harvey said that the bill collectors will call and say, when can we expect payment? And what would he say? He said, well, you can expect payment whenever you want to. You can expect whatever you want, but getting payment is a whole nother story. So the expectation is important. The expectation can be formed just like when you start a new relationship, you have expectations of how that relationship is going to go. But then there's a point where the rubber meets the road. That's when the expectation gets introduced to the realization. The realization is the trump card to the expectation. So what happens in the stock market is the market is full of people and computers and everything that's literally taking in all available information. Information is really important in stock market investing. That's why Martha Stewart's doing commercials and TV shows with Snoop Dogg, because she went to prison. Well, why did she go to prison? She went to prison because she took in information that she was not supposed to have. So information is a multi-trillion-dollar commodity. Information is wealth. Information is really economic power. And that's why when they convince so many of our people to walk away from books and walk away from information and walk away from knowledge, they were stealing wealth out of your pocket. Okay, do you understand? Give me a yes if you understand that when you don't want information, that you are giving your wealth away. Wealth and information and education and knowledge are deeply connected. So when you go to that inferior public school and you don't learn anything and they don't teach you anything and you have no information and no knowledge, then that is another way, an insidious way, a way that very few people actually mention and they don't connect the dots here. That's another insidious way that trillions of dollars in wealth is taken from the Black community. Now that we know, it's our responsibility to fix that. So information is everything when it comes to stock prices. Information forms expectations, which creates these prices and changes in asset value. So what happened today, the reason a lot of you have more money in your pocket right now, the reason your stock prices all went up is because there was new information that came in that changed expectations, but then that expectation was compared to a realization. The realization and the expectations corrected each other, but then the new realization is also more information about future expectations. So let me explain that in English. I know that sounded like a lot, but basically we expected inflation to be here. Pay attention now, follow me. Let me know if you follow me here. We expected inflation to be here, but the realization was that inflation was actually here. So we're like, oh, that's great. That means that stock prices need to go up. So that's more money in your pocket. Your paper gains are up. I took some of the stocks in the thousands of dollars I made. I sold them. I took about $7,000 and I sent it to my wife and said, hey, baby, go pay the credit card bill. Okay. All right. So this is real money. So information literally translates into real money. And then so the expectation met with the realization. But then guess what? Here's the other part to it. That the realization is more information, which forms future expectations. You see, so in terms of, and this is a good money meditation moment. This is a good financial psychology moment, a good economic awareness moment. The stock market is constantly in this interesting space where the past doesn't really matter a whole lot. The past matters very little, actually. It gives you a little information, but not a lot. But you're constantly in the space where you have these expectations, which are met with realizations, which shape future expectations. So you're always looking to the future. Investors are always trying to see, like, what's around the corner? What's next? So even as the market is reacting to current information about inflation, even as the market is reacting right now today, based on what we saw today, they're taking what they learned today and using that to form an expectation of what they think is going to happen in the future. This is why your stock prices went up. It's because everything was in sync. The realization was good, which formed even better expectations, right? So let me give you a real life example. I know some of you may still be trying to understand what I'm saying here, and I know I'm talking fast, but just know I repeat myself a lot, which compensates hopefully for the fact that sometimes I get excited and I talk fast. This stuff really gets me excited. So think about it like this. I go on, let's say back when I was a single man, I'm a married man now, so I don't do these things anymore. But when I was a single man, let's say you go on a date with a lady and you expect that the relationship is going to go a certain way. You expect her to be an 8 out of 10 in attractiveness. You expect her to be an 8 out of 10 in terms of kindness. And let's say that you meet her and she's not an 8 out of 10, she's a 9 out of 10. And you're like, whoa, now that I've really met you, you're prettier than I thought you were going to be. You're kinder than I thought you were going to be. My mama's going to love you. You're smarter than I thought you were going to be. That's a win, right? So her stock price just went up. Do you follow what I'm saying? Give me a yes if you're following this analogy. You're like, yeah. So if she were like us, if that relation, not that people are stocks, just go bear with me. So if she were a stock, her stock price just shot up because the real what you really saw exceeded what you expected, and you're excited, right? So, but the thing is that there's a multiplicative, like recursive effect that kind of happens, a feedback loop. So now that you're more excited because of what you saw, now you're even more excited about the future. You understand? So now not only has your realization exceeded your expectations, and so you're excited in the present, but now you're super excited about the future because now you're thinking, whoa, she's going to be a great mother for my kids. And I can't wait for my mother to meet her. And having her as a wife is going to be great, right? So this is what happens with the stock market. The stock market basically did the exact same thing. They expected the inflation data to be here, but it was actually here. They were like, oh, this is good, right? It was better than they thought. which not didn't just shape the present, it also had an impact on the future. And the stock price is this beautiful number that is really this collapsed composite of all the available information that we can access about this particular asset and what we think it can do in the future. It doesn't. It's rarely correct. It just but it's beautiful because it's pretty informative in terms of letting you know how the world feels about this asset. So right now the stock market is doing really good. And so let me kind of jump to another point here. All right. So what I want to do is I'm hoping I can persuade you to get your butt up and go start buying you some stock. Don't just buy one stock. Don't tell me about. I get it. I'm not making fun of you, but I'm sorry. It does frustrate me a little when someone says, "Well, I bought $10 worth of stock," but yet you spent $800 on your car note. I don't. That does not make sense to me. Why is the car dealer more important than your family's economic future? Why do we go hard for for the car note? We go hard for the vacation. We go hard at the mall. We go hard at the club. We go hard paying the landlord, but we won't go hard when it comes to taking care of our future and our family. Your family wealth and your family legacy is more important than your car note. It just is. It doesn't get whatever car you want. I don't care. I'm not going to judge you. I want you to drive a nice car. But Lord, come on, man. I let me, and again, now just mind you, let me tell you where I'm coming from, where my frustration comes from. It's you don't understand. I've been researching the stock market for 30 years. My dissertation, which is a dissertation, in case you don't know, which is publicly available. You can go read it if you want to. I don't even remember hardly what's in it. I wrote it 20 years ago. It was very painful. It is this really incredibly painful 150-page book full of math that you have to create in order to get a PhD. My whole dissertation was on the stock market. And Lydia, don't if you want to read it, it'll put you to sleep. It'll be a good sleeping pill. But just know it's the PhD process is very torturous. It's a really painful experience. If you really go through a really tough program. If anybody ever tells you that, oh, my PhD was great, I had fun, we only met on the weekends and it was easy, that me and my wife kind of, when we hear stories like that, we're like, okay, they didn't go through a real PhD program because it's kind of like hell. It's a lot like hell. My wife's experience was like hell. Mine was like hell. So that's when we bond around the trauma of what we went through in our doctoral programs. But with that said, though, with the stock market, this is something I've dug into deeply. And let me give you a few quick little stats that I hope will convince you, those of you that are still not sure, that you have to participate in the stock market. So I pulled some stats up. Let me pull these up so I can share these with you. And by the way, if you're not on the text list, make sure you get on the text list. If you're not on there, you can text the word morning to 87948. And that's how you get invited to this private Zoom. So make sure you text morning to the number 87948. Somebody type that in, type morning 87948. And that way we can be connected. All right, so here's a few stats. According to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, and I remember this data set, I used to use it a lot in grad school, the median net worth of stock market investors is approximately 20 times higher than that of non-investors. Did y'all hear what I said? Let's meditate on, this is financial consciousness. We're going to economically elevate. I want you to meditate on what I just said to you. That one fact alone should just tell you beyond any reasonable doubt that participating in the stock market will make you far wealthier than people who do not. It says that the median net worth of stock market investors is 20 times higher than people who don't invest in the stock market. As of the latest survey, the median net worth of families who own stocks is $329,000 compared to those who do not own stocks, which is $16,000. Did I convince you with that stat? Is that enough? There's more. I'm gonna give you some more because we got to beat this dead horse. I'm tired of us playing around. We got to do this. Okay. Number two, income levels. According to Pew Research data, 80% of households with incomes above $100,000 invest in the stock market. So if you want one rule to becoming rich, is doing what rich people are doing. If you copy rich people, then you'll probably become one yourself. If you now, mind you, I just this weekend also had to read stories about another rapper who died a day or two ago, and so unfortunately, one of her most recent songs was about drug use or whatever, and so the same way that uh, if you imitate people who are going to die soon, then there's a good chance bad things are going to happen to you. And it made me very sad. But it's also true in other areas. If you imitate what wealthy people are doing, then you'll probably become wealthy. And unfortunately, they have a lot of our young people imitating people who are going to be in prison or end up dead. And then they end up in prison and they end up dead, and everybody acts shocked and surprised. I don't want that for you. I don't want that for your children. I don't want that for anybody. So economically speaking, 80% of all families with incomes over $100,000 are investors in the stock market. If you look at families with incomes below 40,000, only 14% are consistent investors in the stock market. Number three, let's go to another stat. The Center for Retirement Research at Boston College found that stock owning households accumulate far more wealth over time. On average, households that invest in stocks have retirement savings that are 3 times higher than those who do not invest, largely due to higher returns generated by equities compared to other investment vehicles. So if you are either close to retirement or you're talking to somebody who's going to retire one day, which is pretty much everybody, they should understand clearly that stocks must be part of your retirement plan. If it's not, then it's probably going to be really difficult for you to have a good retirement. And the reason that retirement planning should be something that children are thinking about even in their teens is because retirement planning doesn't just mean that you're going to be comfortable when you're 65. Retirement planning means that you're building a capital base and a nest egg, which can give you financial security when you're 35. It can give you security when you're 25. If you put money in your 401k or your 403b or whatever retirement plan you choose, that money is still your money, even if you're not old yet. Even if you're in your 20s, that's still your money. It's just sitting in this tax deferred account, but you still have access to that. That is still your money. The same thing is true when you talk about investing for your kids. See, what I figured out the hard way. Here's what I figured out. Here's what I used to say, and this was maybe 5 years ago. This is what Boyce sounded like in 2019. I'm still trying to evolve. So here's what Boyce would say in 2019. He would say, you should plan for retirement early, because the earlier you start investing for retirement, the more money you'll have when you retire. And if you start early, you'll get so far ahead that people who start late will never catch up. So by the time you hit retirement, you'll be in good shape. That is a true statement. But what Boyce in 2024 realized is that the benefits of saving for retirement don't just happen when you're old, because all you're really doing is accumulating wealth. And if you accumulate that wealth, it doesn't mean that you're only going to be good later on. You're going to be good even in the early stages of that process. Even when your retirement plan, which might consist of $1 million nest egg you want to build, even when it's just $30,000, well, that's $30,000 in assets that you have that can keep you and your family secure. It's almost like if somebody says, if you start eating at 5 o'clock and dinner ends at 6, then you won't be hungry at 6:30. That's true. But if you think about it like this, if you're really hungry and you're going to eat dinner from 5 to 6, you're going to really be content from the very first bite of that food. You don't have to wait. Let me know if you follow my analogy here. You don't have to wait till 6:30 to be full and to feel satisfied. You're going to be pretty happy at 5:02. Do you understand? Like that. So in fact, that first couple of bites of food will probably give you as much satisfaction, more satisfaction actually, than the bite of food you're going to take at 5:58. Do you follow me? So don't think that investing is just something where you just suffer for 30 years and then you're happy at the end. No, investing is something that gives marginal incremental benefits, emotional and psychological and financial, very early in the process. So take those first steps and that'll make a big difference. Another thing that Boyce back in 2019 might have said is this: because I've always understood for many, many years that families that invest for their children when they're young, if you simply wanted to, if you wanted to avoid all the problems that our young people have when it comes to money, all you have to do is have two parents that love them enough and have enough economic vision to buy little shares of stock for them from the time that they're born. We do this in the $5 a day investing plan. If you haven't seen it, just go to blackwealthmasterplan.com. That's blackwealthmasterplan.com. It's toll free, right? I've been able to say this for many years. I've probably been saying this for over a decade. But here's what I learned, and this really sucks, is that unfortunately we live in a world where people are just a little bit selfish. Um, Not everybody really cares that much about their kids to the point where they're going to invest for their children. That's reality. I hate to say it. I don't know if it's because they don't love their kids or maybe they just don't have time to love them as much as they are thinking about whatever's going on. So I'm not saying people don't care about their kids. I'm just saying it's real weird if I can tell you if you invest for your kids, they won't suffer later on, and people are like, yeah, whatever, right? So here's what I realized. I said, okay, I get it now. Maybe for some of us, we might care about our kids, but maybe we care about ourselves more than we care about our kids, at least right now. Right. So the way I would reframe that conversation is like this. I would say, okay, if you invest for your children now when they're newborn babies, that's not their money. That's actually your money that you can use and you can access to make your life better while you wait for them to grow up. Do you understand? So I cook a meal for you. It's one thing if I convince you, I say, hey, if you start the crock pot now and you cook some food now, then your children will get to eat good at 5 o'clock. That's not as good as me saying, if you start cooking right now, you can take bites of food yourself. You can eat just like everybody else. You can make yourself a plate too. You can actually take bites of food out of the crock pot while the food is cooking. So it's your food. And I'm just asking you to make the food for yourself so you can then share it with others. And wealth can be built that way too. That's okay. It's okay. We're all a little bit selfish. It's all right. Let's go and admit it. Go and admit it. You care about yourself. And I'm happy for you for that. So the point is to say that any family that doesn't want their children to suffer will invest when their children are young. That wealth can then be transferred to them when they get older. But in the meantime, that's really your money. And I think it's okay to say that. You made the sacrifice. And in fact, I encourage you to really think carefully about sort of what family means. I remember saying something very basic on Twitter where I mentioned the importance of children taking care of their parents and stuff like that, because that's how I grew up, that your parents get older, you take care of them. And I think somebody said, well, is that the only purpose for having kids? Is that what your kids are supposed to do? Just take care of you? And I was like, yeah, what's wrong with children taking care of their parents? They took care of you when you were little, didn't they? They changed your dirty diapers and put up with your attitude when you were a teenager. They didn't have to. Your mama could have been twerking. Your daddy could have been out smoking crack and getting girls, but he took care of you. So why wouldn't you? So just the idea that some people thought it was foreign to assume that children want their parents to be okay. That really freaked me out too. And so I'm learning about the world as I'm kind of talking to people and kind of seeing that some people see things differently from me. But I personally believe that's a Eurocentric concept, that family ain't supposed to give a damn about each other. I don't think that's what we did in Africa before the slave ships got there. I just don't. I don't know, but I just really think we picked up some psychological STDs from the colonizers that just don't serve us well and don't sit us next to God in terms of who we're supposed to be. But that's my 2 cents. I don't know. Judge me if you want to. It's okay. All right. So let me finish giving you a couple more stats on why you have to invest in the stock market. Also, home ownership, according to a study by the National Bureau of Economic Research, stock market investors are more likely to own their own homes outright. Approximately 62% of stock market investors own their homes without a mortgage. So that means they paid off the house. They paid off the house, compared to 37% of people who don't invest. This indicates that stock investors not only have a higher overall wealth, but also more substantial asset ownership. So not only do they own more stock and have more money, they also own more real estate. And I can tell you when I paid property off and stuff like that. Well, the easiest way to get the money to pay the property off was to go sell some stock, right? So here's what I want to ask you to do. Um, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and start investing. If you're not investing regularly, please start. Uh, Two resources that we can offer you in the Black Business School. One is free, one is cheap. If you go to blackwealthmasterplan.com, that's where the $5 a day plan is located. That's the master plan, literally, where that one little thing, changing that one little thing, will solve 70-80% of the economic problems in the Black community. Most of these problems that we have are very solvable. It's just I think that there's a mindset that we've been given where there's no benefit to solving the problem, or there's no incentive to actually solve it. It's a more of an interesting kind of just dwelling in the problems, swimming in the sadness. I think that we are trained to see ourselves as the losers, as the underdogs, as the oppressed, and I personally don't think that that's healthy or beneficial for any of us. Number two, I do have something. We did a Black stock market weekend where I spent the whole weekend taking students in the Black Business School through the process of buying stock and everything else. And what I'm going to do is later on today, I will text you all a link to get 80% off of the recording for the Black stock market weekend. I took 80% off, so I think it's like 40 something dollars. It's yours for life, and you'll get that link later on today. If you're on the text list, then if you're not on the text list, make sure you text the word morning to 87948. If you text morning to 87948, you'll get it sometime this afternoon, maybe about 1 o'clock or something like that. And also, I saw one of you asked about getting the survey again a little bit later, so I can send that out again. But yeah, so text morning to 87948, and I will send you a link to get access to that Black stock market weekend. And I've taken 80% off for the next couple of days if you'd like to take a look at that. And that'll take you right through the process to get you started investing. And what I want you to do is I want you to just get comfortable diving in. This is not just essential, it's incredibly beneficial, and it will put you way ahead of anybody who thinks otherwise. Now, as far as the Moneymaker Grid, I see you were asking about the Moneymaker Grid for the Prime program. I'm almost done with the Moneymaker Grid. The Moneymaker Grid will be out by tomorrow. So that'll be done too. And that's it. That's literally my whole spiel for today. That was on my mind. And one thing I want you to think about from an economic elevation standpoint, financial consciousness standpoint, is that when you talk about stock prices in investing, things like that, most of the psychology that goes behind the creation of a stock price is not built around what's in front of you. Right? Part of consciousness, economic elevation / financial awareness is to be able to see the things that cannot be seen. And so the stock market is not just this place where you see economic value based on how much money a company is making. It's not just based on how much money a company has made. It's not just based on what a company has. It's actually much more so based on this view of the future, where you take all the information that you could possibly find and use that in this sort of big gumbo of probabilities that allow you to form some sort of belief about what you think this company is going to do in the future. So let me give you an example. NVIDIA is now a $3 trillion company, right? Most of that $3 trillion in market value has not been earned by NVIDIA. It's not like you're going to go to NVIDIA and find $3 trillion worth of anything inside that company right now. They have not made $3 trillion. That $3 trillion valuation is based on a guesstimate of how much money this company is going to make in the future. And then they put all this into this model called the present value of future cash flows model that spits out a stock price at the end. And the thing about it, though, is that this number is always updated. And that's why stock prices go up and down, up and down, up and down, because new information is constantly coming in. And, and the thing about information is you say, where does the information come from? Well, it kind of comes from God in a way. It's like things just happen and you form new assessments. And when you get these new assessments, the models spit out new numbers. But really, it's a beautiful process when you understand it to its core. And it's one that I encourage you to participate in, because that's where a big chunk of wealth is created in America. A lot of it is very psychological, very psychological. Okay, so I see some of you have some questions. I can't do a Q&A right now today, but I just now that you did, thank you, Ranthan. You did ask me what stock am I going to buy? This is not investing advice, but I am going to buy some shares of GE, General Electric. I like the company. They had some trouble for a really long time. I think they finally got it together. So I think GE will be a good long-term investment. Maybe today, I don't know. I have to see what the stock did today. It might have gone up like the rest of the market. So I might wait until the market dips a little bit to buy more shares. But really, I think as a long-term investment, having GE in the portfolio is a good long-term move. And I'm talking about, when I say long-term, I'm talking about 5 to 10 years. I'm not talking about in the next 2 weeks. So remember, you don't judge a stock price or an investment based on what that stock makes in the first month or two. You evaluate it based on what it makes in the next 5 or 10 years. Okay, so I'm going to head on out of here, guys. And before I go, don't forget, tomorrow morning, we're going to do financial consciousness training. We do this every single morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you're on the text list to be notified. Text the word morning to 87948. Text morning to 87948. And also that later on today, I'll send you a link to review the Black Stock Market Weekend. If you want to get started investing and feel comfortable, the material is yours for life. You can share it with your family and friends. Forming a family investment club is a great idea. I encourage you to consider that. Number three, today is Wednesday, and this is Powernomics Wednesday. You guys know every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we teach Powernomics here in the Black Business School. That is 100% for free for anybody that wants to understand Dr. Claude Anderson and Powernomics. We've been doing this for 5 years, very consistently every week. And so tonight we're going to be reading from his book, The Black History Reader. And so if you want to join us for that, and you want to get a notification on that, just text the word greatness to 87948. If you text greatness to 87948, I'll send you the link right before we start class tonight. And that's pretty much it, guys. So I will see you then. Have a wonderful day. And thank you for hearing me out. And I hope I've convinced you. Give me a yes. Give me something. If you give me a yes in the chat, that'll make me feel a little bit better. I'm about to go to the gym. I need something to pump me up. Let me know if I've convinced you that stock market investing is essential for our people. I'd like to know this, and I'm going to do a survey again in the near future because I want to find out what percentage of our people in this class are stock market investors. And I want to be able to brag. In the Black Business School, I don't just want you to learn things. I want us to apply what we've learned, and I want your life to be better because of that application. And this helps us to go out and to say to people, look, this is not hocus pocus. This is not just a feel-good moment. This is certainly not a scam. This is real education that's really impactful, far more impactful than whatever you did in college, because some of that stuff was a waste of time and we know it. All right, guys. So have a wonderful day. God bless you. And thank you so much for the yeses. I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.